After 2.5 days of not a single sighting of Victor, I asked my friends who live up here to post his information on their Facebook page. I sent them an email with the photo and the copy. So 9 o'clock Sunday morning, my friend and neighbor Shar posted the information on her Facebook page, and around 9:30 a neighbor who lives near this intersection called her and said they had seen Victor the last 2 mornings, but they weren't able to catch him. And so Shar, of course, then called me, and I hung up the phone with Shar as I'm like running from my car to head this way, and all of a sudden all these like lost voicemails show up on my phone. The phone service here isn't always the best because they're pretty remote and in deep woods. Anyway, one of the messages was from a neighbor who lives a little way down the way from here, and he had seen Victor about an hour after this woman had in his driveway, and he tried to whistle for Victor to call him, and he did not come. He knew about Victor from the radio. I had called the local radio stations and asked them to broadcast Victor's information, and he heard the information the day before and recognized that Victor was missing in his area, so he wrote down my phone number just in case he saw Victor, and lo and behold, the next day he did. He ran home, got the phone number, called me. So I went from having no sightings of Victor to having 2 sightings within an hour, but I found out that information about 30 seconds apart. So now we're heading north on Martha Lake Road, which is the direction that the woman had seen him running. And at this point, I had yelled for my whole family, told them what was going on. I got in my car, and I assumed Victor would stay on this side of the woods, which is the lake side. And so I was going down the neighbors' driveways. We have 2 neighbors in between where he was last sighted. And so I was talking to them and going down their driveways looking for him. This up here, in behind these woods, are where my friend Shar lives, and this driveway up here is where the neighbor saw Victor, and he had taken off. Well, while I was going and looking on the other side of the on this side of the road, but up ahead, my dad and brother drove down this driveway and saw Victor, and they called for him, and he took off running, and he came running down here where my other brother and my niece Lauren were, and he ran alongside the car, and they stopped and opened the car door and tried to call him into the car, but he didn't come. So my niece got out of the car and went into these thick woods trying to lure Victor back to the car, but he ran. And so my brother Eric, who knows Victor better, followed him down this trail here. These woods here is a forest owned by the local school, and they use it to teach the kids forestry, forest management, and other skills that kids would need to know up here in the North Woods. And so Eric followed him into here, and he called for him, and Victor bolted and took off running. At this point, I had come flying back. They had called me and said that they had found him and that he had run into here, and I came flying back with Bobby on leash, and I walked into here and I met Eric, and Eric said, well, he might be long gone, but this is where he saw him go, and he didn't want to chase him. And so we talked about whether I should go to the next section of property on the other side and see if I could cut him off. And I decided that I would still walk through here with Bobby, hoping to leave my scent, and then walk home. And that way, if we didn't see Victor, at least maybe he could follow our scent trail home. And so I kept walking here with Bobby. I kept him on a relatively short leash. He actually did very well walking outside. And we passed this yurt, which I believe is made by the students. And then up ahead I saw this. And it's either a sweat lodge or it's, the housing that used to be typical of the Chippewa. I'm not quite sure. And I thought, well, maybe there's an entrance that Victor could have gotten into to take shelter. And so we were walking up here, and I turned the corner, and here's this little log cabin and Victor was sitting in front of the door. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it when I saw him sitting there, and he couldn't believe it when he saw me. His eyes got big as dinner plates. And he ran right towards me. I let out the leash, and Bobby ran towards him, and they sniffed each other for about 1/10 of a second. And then Victor ran straight towards me. And he just buried his head in my chest and was shaking like a leaf. And he was doing this crazy crying sound. It was like a combination between a whine and a whimper and a yelp, and it was like, I mean, I'd never heard any kind of sound from him, and he makes a lot of noises. And he was shaking and shaking and just crying and crying, and I just kept holding him. And finally he kind of relaxed a little bit, and I didn't trust his collar because I knew it was already kind of a little maybe iffy. His harness was gone, so I made a loop out of the leash and walked him back to my car and got him in the car with Bobby, and I shut and I locked the doors, and then I burst into tears for about 15 seconds. And then I got so happy, I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't believe he was sitting right next to me. I took a picture to post on Facebook, and then I went home beeping the horn down the driveway so everybody would know that I found him. And actually the guy who saw him cross the driveway heard the horn beeping, and he knew what it meant when I called him back to let him know that I found Victor. He's like, that's what the horn was. That's what I thought. He was covered in ticks, and of course me holding him for as long as I did, I ended up with a few ticks on myself as well, but a small price to pay. I just want to thank everybody because it was your words of encouragement and positive thoughts, and you know, things that I should try, and tips and stories about other people had lost their dogs and got them back. Those things kept me going. I mean, I did not stop looking for them. Those 2.5 days, I had flyers made, little like bookmark size kind of flyers with the information that I handed out to my neighbors. You know, the town was, every place you went there was a missing poster for Victor. And I had talked to a woman who specialized in finding lost dogs, and she said more important than looking for the dog, especially if you don't know the location, is to get the word out. Spread it in as many different channels as you can. And so in the end, it was Facebook and the radio that brought Victor home. And so I want to thank everybody for encouraging me and spreading the word. And it was just an unbelievable experience to find him. Heartbreaking when we lost him. I'm scared to death it's going to happen again. So I've actually been driving him back here and then taking a slow ride home with the windows open so he can learn the scent of the area. And if I had more time, I'd walk from home to here and back just so that he knows the area better. You know, I think, you know, once he knows the scent trail, he would be able to find home. Hopefully he never gets loose again, but he's clearly a dog with a wanderlust, and I can't ever guarantee that it won't happen and that he won't bolt and run. And normally when I come back here, right now he's laying down, but normally I come back here, he is whimpering and crying, and it's kind of like he wants to get out of the car, not like it's sad memories being here. I think he probably had a lot of fun hunting in these woods. Anyway, thank you everybody, and this was the story of finding Victor. Bye-bye.